USA 1 has won 4 monster truck races in a row here on Tuff Trax. And that's not sitting too well with trucks like King Crunch, the Equalizer, and a new star, Tough Enough. Those monsters and all the other superstars of the TNT Monster Truck Challenge are now ready to roll. We've also got modified tractor pulling from Owensboro, Kentucky, featuring the Irish Challenger and other professional pullers on the TNT All-American Pulling Series. Stay tuned to Tuff Trax. Hi again, everyone. I'm Scott Douglas. Welcome to Tuff Trax as we're taking you to Music City, USA, Nashville, Tennessee. The music this week, though, is going to be played by the well-tuned monster trucks on the TNT Monster Truck Challenge. They're out at Nashville Motor Raceway, one of the premier auto racing facilities in the country, bracing itself today for the TNT Monster Trucks. It's going to be a track that will really test these trucks. 3 jumps in all. Rod Litzow and USA 1 has won 4 in a row. He's standing by with Army Armstrong.
Well, thanks, Scott. Standing with me right now is a man who was under some pressure. He had to make a move, and he did just that. He moved up to number 3 in a national points chase, that being the driver of USA 1, Rod Litzow. Rod, Nashville Speedway, known for speed, but they're trying to slow you down here. How do you feel about this track?
Well, this track they are trying to make it, a little bit slower, but it's going to be a lot of reading the track, hitting the gear at the right time, I think, and I think we can pull it off because it's, it's going to be a 1, 2, 3 shot, and as long as I clear the first set is all I'm worried about, and then it's going to be wide open.
You and the crew sat down and kind of reestablished yourself about a month ago and said, we're going to get serious, we're going after the national points chase. You've done what it had to take. You've won every time you've been out. Can you keep doing that?
Oh, yeah, I think we can. We're running strong. I feel good. Everything's going great. We're the national champions. I'm here to win.
Well, Scott, at this time, I'd like to introduce everyone to a new member of our Tuff Track announcing team from my hometown of Owensboro, Kentucky, Miss Chris Chapman. Now, Chris is a former Miss Kentucky and a runner-up in a Miss USA competition. Chris, welcome to Tuff Track.
Army, it's great to be here. I had the opportunity to speak with several of the drivers today, and I have to admit that there's a real strong atmosphere of family here, and I'm looking forward to working with you here on Tuff Track.
Well, tell us about some more of the action we're going to be seeing on today's show.
Well, all right. We'll be having modified tractor pulling from our hometown, and these are 4- and 5-engine tractors that are generating up to 6,000 horsepower, and they're pulling a 60,000-pound sled. And a little bit later on in the show, we'll introduce you to a dynamite lady who, from what I understand, Scott and Army, she's going to blow herself up right here at the Nashville Motor Speedway.
All right, Chris, thanks. We really got something to look forward to here in just a few moments on Tuff Trax. We're in Nashville, the Nashville Motor Raceway, ready to look at some of the qualifying highlights. Now, Army, this is Randy Spanier out of Albany, Minnesota, in the truck known as Barely Tame.
Randy Spanier is a driver who's new to the sport. The Spanier name's not new. His brother, Doug Spanier, driven the Master truck for many years. This is the number 2 truck in their team. And it's kind of a unique setup in Nashville. This could be the right truck to run because they're saying it will not be a horsepower track. It'll be a chassis track. This truck, not a whole lot of horsepower, but it does handle. So he lays down a real good shot for a young driver on the tour. A 10.09 is the word we get.
Yeah, you can see there wasn't any shake, rattling, and rolling. He didn't have to stop and readjust. He was able to hold the track very well. That gave him an excellent run of 10.09, second fastest qualifying time on the night. A local favorite from Springfield, Tennessee, David Morris, and the Equalizer. He's been battling for the national points all season. Now he's on his home turf at Nashville.
Well, a little bit later in the show, I believe we're going to tell you some interesting facts about this young man and this event. Right now, his all is thinking about a good qualifying shot. Not a good track for this truck. You notice how it moves around and everything. Normally, when he can get going quick and fast, the truck will run good. But the problem here, the joker in this car deck, is that center set of cars. If you don't get off the center set in good shape, you're in trouble. See, a 13.06. Last year, he was going 10.0s on this track, a 13.06 on that run. The truck is just not going to handle, and the drivers will have to go back and make a whole lot of chassis changes.
You could really see that David Morris, an Equalizer, was unable to build up very much speed across those first 2 sets of cars, and that cost him there. John Moore out of Lafayette, Tennessee, and the no-problem Ford Bronco. Here's an interesting strategy. He wants to be the slowest qualifier. We asked John about that strategy.
When you qualify, you go for a position in the starting lineup. Some people just run as hard as they can to line up wherever they can. I will basically try and be the slowest qualifier to know that I will run halfway down the pack virtually almost for sure I can beat that truck that I line up against first round.
That's the strategy from John Moore. He says if he's the slowest, that'll normally pair him with a truck in the middle of the field the way it works out on him.
Yeah, and it's worked really good for him this year, too. It's a lot of people think, well, maybe, I don't know if that's a good way to go racing, but here's another thing. He doesn't break a lot of equipment either. He's around for the first round of elimination, so drawing your pull out of the middle of the hat, you know you're not going to run USA 1 and all those other big guys. It might work. And he's doing his thing, 14:06. He's got a big grin on his face right now.
He's the 11th fastest, slowest. He is the slowest at 14:06. So he got what he wanted because the pairings will be set for this event, basically. One will go against 7, 2 against 8, and on down. He knows now he'll get a middle-of-the-pack truck. This is not a middle-of-the-pack truck. Red hot, Rod Litzow, USA 1 with 4 consecutive Tuff Trax wins. Here's his qualifying run. Hey, he got out of the gate good.
Yeah, he got out good. Look at the second jump. Now watch it. Litzow starts to roll on. What a run. A little bit of lift to the left. He's going to be strong. Wow, you talk about covering the field. He's almost 2 seconds quicker with an 8:46.
There is your fast qualifier, Rod Litzow and USA 1. Let's go over to Chris Chapman for the pairing.
Thanks, Scott. It is USA 1 taking it on against the Mad Dog, Gravedigger, and No Problem, our next matchup. Then we have Dave Weisworth and the Nightlife team, their third fastest qualifier versus Scott Stevens and King Crunch. Then it's Yosemite Sam, the fourth fast qualifier, versus the Equalizer, a bit of a surprise, who qualified in the 10th position. Next, Tough Enough versus the Wild Hair. And rounding out the competition is Barely Tame and the Master of Disaster. And when we return, it's the first round of monster truck racing from beautiful Nashville, Tennessee. Stay right where you are. It's coming your way on Tuff Trax.
Television's most powerful hour continues. It's TNT's Tuff Trax in Nashville, Tennessee. As the youngsters pick up the toys, they're getting ready to watch the best on the TNT Monster Truck Challenge. Here's Chris Chapman to check the points coming in.
Scott, this is the way it looks. Gary Porter and the Carolina Crusher are not going to be racing this weekend, meaning Equalizer will likely pass him up tonight. Look at the move USA 1 has made with 4 wins in a row. He's vaulted past Gravedigger, which led the points race for about a month early in the season. Dave Weisworth and Nightlife round out the top 5. The second 5 features Steve Kane and Awesome Kong at 6th place. John Breen and Mad Dog are 7th. No Problem, John Moore 8th. Marvin Spitz and Stomper are 9th and not racing this weekend. And Wild Hair is 10th with a new driver in Nashville, Kurt Fisher, filling in for Bob Breen. Here's Scott and Army with first round action.
Thanks, Chris. And as you just mentioned, USA 1 has been the guy making the move in the points. He's getting ready to go into action now against the Mad Dog, John Breen, jumping in here right now in front of a packed house at Nashville Motor Raceway. Army USA 1, Rod Litzow with 4 in a row, one of the great hot streaks in the history of this sport.
Yeah, but that's not going to bother the guy sitting on his left hip being a Mad Dog. You're not going to intimidate John Breen. He's going to push that USA 1 truck to the maximum. He's not going to roll over and die for him. John Breen's a player. He'll run hard. He'll run you hard. Let's see what's going to happen. The 3 jumps could be a problem. And USA 1 in a little bit of trouble. God, we may have a problem here.
It did not look like USA 1 got both wheels on that first jump. Explain that rule for us, Army.
The rule is, Scott, both front tires must hit the obstacle you're going over, and you must keep at least 2 tires on that obstacle. So let's see if the front tire, we're going to watch the right front tire closer to the camera. Does it hit the car he's going over? Doesn't look to me like he does. Now, the left side tires, front and rear, they actually seem to come off, and he's trying to claw back on top of the cars to go across the finish line. Scott, he's going to be disqualified.
So the 4-race winning streak will come to an end on a disqualification in Nashville for Rod Litzow and USA 1. He's got to be disappointed. Army Armstrong is standing by right now with the defending national champion.
Rod Litzow, you said you're going to try to go back, disqualified first round. What's going through your mind?
Mad, really mad right now. You know, that's what these tracks, you know, we try to hook up on these tracks, but they're designing tracks that make the trucks, these fast trucks, get out of hand. And this is what we got to go through. There's been a lot of DQs. There's going to be a lot of DQs tonight. And I don't like it. A lot of drivers don't like it.
USA 1, trying to repeat, second time national champion. This is going to make it a whole lot tougher. Can you do it? We've been asking you that week in, week out. You keep saying yeah, but right now I'm talking to a different Rod Litzow. Can you still regroup and come back?
Oh, yeah, I still have it in me, you know. What it is on these tracks is you got to hook up, get a good shot, and, you know, pull it off. And it swung me sideways right in there, and that's what happened.
Rod thought the track was designed against him, but you can see John Breen had a problem there. He's picking up his steering belt. Army, let's watch it one more time because it's very controversial how Rod came off that second set and headed for the third set of cars.
Okay, the question is going to be, watch the tire closer to the camera. Does it touch the car he's going over? It doesn't look like he does to me. He tried to crawl his way back on. 3 jumps cars. These guys just don't like that setup, Scott.
Rod Litzow will not make it 5 in a row, and I'll tell you, the whole USA 1 team is very unhappy, and it appears that Everett Jasmer is trying to claim that they did touch both wheels on. So he's going to continue to state his case, but John Breen goes to the next round.
John Breen, a lot of people call it an upset. I don't look at it that way. You went after him.
Well, yeah, when I took off down there, I took off a little hard, got a new motor, and threw the steering belt off, so I was having a pretty rough time myself.
You were having problems with the steering belt earlier in the day, weren't you?
Yeah, anytime you put anything together brand new, you got to get the bugs out of it, and that was one of the bugs.
Already controversy and surprises here in Nashville. Let's see what this race will hold. It's Gravedigger, Dennis Anderson, Chesapeake, Virginia, against that truck. The Ford Bronco, no problem. John Moore here in his home state. Moore is from Lafayette, Tennessee.
Believe me, he's running in front of a crowd that wants to see an upset right here. And John Moore, earlier in the year during an interview, said, if I don't do anything else, I'm going to beat the Gravedigger 1989. Let's see if he can do it. Moore starts to make his move on the far side. Gravedigger trying to hold him off. The final jump. Look at this. Look at this, Scott.
He's done it. In front of the home state fans, John Moore has upset the awesome Gravedigger. What a big moment in his racing career this is for John Moore, and no problem, fair and square. Both trucks at 100%, and Moore beat him.
What happened? He just stayed smooth and level out of that left lane. Gravedigger's beating and banging, and Moore just comes back, makes a good straight run at the last jump, airs it out, and goes over the finish line first.
The bounces cost Gravedigger. The consistency of John Moore on that run gives him the victory. As you can see right now, our TNT officials all looking around the tape right now, and Rod Litzow's there. And what they're looking at is the timing tape from that last run of Litzow where he was DQ'd.
Well, a decision was made by a track official that affected USA 1. The owner of that truck, Everett Jasper, standing with me right now. Everett, your feelings on the call?
I'm so angry I'm shaking right now. I've never seen a run like this. It's the 3rd time in a month we've had bad calls made on us. We went over here a little while ago and reviewed the videotape. We proved on tape, on more than one tape, that we were right, and the line judge refused to change his call. So once again, we are made an example of, and I'm getting really tired of it, damn tired of it, and I want to go racing. I'm tired of this foolishness with these calls by people that can't see what they're calling. And I'm going to make sure that these rules get changed.
Okay, now, I can tell you're upset. This should make you that much more determined to prove your point to come back and to win this championship. Now, Rod seems to be driving his heart out in the truck. The truck's making the horsepower. It's a little cause that are catching is what you're saying.
I've got a real major problem. I've got a driver, I've got crew members who are being affected by these cheating calls, and I'm not going to put up with it. I'm going to make sure the rules are changed so that we have some judgment on these calls so that we can call the judge and make a decision on it watching the video. The rules are going to be changed fairly, and we're going to come back and we're going to win this thing. No matter how many times we get cheated, we're going to come back and win this thing.
Everett, thanks for coming down and being with me and telling us your side of the story. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the rule that he's talking about, in monster truck racing, the rule says specifically, both front tires must hit the obstacle you're jumping. That's where the question lies.
Controversy in Nashville, a very, very unhappy Everett Jasper, but nonetheless, the decision stands. USA 1 is out for the night. They'll continue discussing it, but when we return, it's back to action. We'll see more first-round competition on the TNT Monster Truck Challenge in Nashville, including a race between the Spanier brothers in Barely Tame and Master of Disaster. Don't you dare go away. It's roaring right at you next here on Tuff Trax.
A heart attack.
TNT's Tuff Trax, continuing to bring you all the excitement with the superstars of monster truck racing here on the TNT Monster Truck Challenge at Nashville Motor Raceway. As you've seen, it's already been a wild first round, and we're not through the first round of competition yet. We've got more great action coming up. The next matchup sends Yosemite Sam and Chuck Clore out of Newland, North Carolina, up against the home state favorite, David Morris from Springfield, Tennessee, in the equalizer. It was a year ago at this very race that David Morris and Mrs. David Morris were on their first date. He decided to get into the sport. Here's Chris Chapman with both of them.
Nancy, the Nashville Motor Speedway holds a very special place in your heart for several reasons. It was the first place that you met David, and it was your first monster truck pull. Tell me how all that got started.
Well, David called me and asked me if I'd like to come over here to the monster truck race. So it was our first date over here, and at the race he informed me that he was going to start driving a monster truck, and it was kind of hard to believe, to grasp at the time. And about 2 months later, he started driving a monster truck.
Nancy, danger and monster truck racing sort of go hand in hand. Let's use Richmond, Virginia, for example. Now, David had a bad flip there. What was going through your mind at that time?
I'm very nervous when he races. I'm just concerned for his safety. I know they have all the safety equipment, but you're still concerned about the person that you love.
Let's talk with David about that, Nancy. Do you all discuss that?
Yes, I try to tell her before a race or anytime we talk about it, not to think of any negative thoughts or anything like that, just have all positive. So we'll do our best.
What kind of interaction do you have with David on that?
Well, I come back and forth in between races to make sure he's okay, and I always tell him before the race to be careful.
We'll see how careful the equalizer is going to be right here. We now kind of know a little better the story behind why this race means so much to him. Army, let's see how he does here in his first matchup as he takes on Yosemite Sam.
Well, remember in qualifying, he had some problems. He qualified way down in the field. Normally he qualifies the top 2 or 3, qualified 10th. He's not on a track that he likes. Look at Yosemite Sam. He's giving him a good race. Morris is going to come back at the end, and he does. He just barely pulled that out.
Boy, luckily for equalizer, David Morris had the necessary power to literally fly over that last set of cars, and he comes away with the victory. So we'll be seeing a lot more of the equalizer tonight as David Morris trying to put on a good show in front of his wife and all of his fans here at the Nashville Motor Raceway. Well, coming up, our next matchup, we'll have Tough Enough going up against Wild Hair. Tough Enough right there with Pablo Cruz, not to be confused with the rock group. Pablo Cruz out of Phoenix, Arizona, hooking up with the Wild Hair. But it's not going to be Bob Breen this time driving the Wild Hair. A new driver. It'll be Kurt Fisher. We asked John Breen where brother Bob is this week.
Well, we've been out on the road up in New York for about 6 weeks, so he took a couple weekends off, and we got Kurt Fisher to drive his truck, and he's a professional mud racer. He's done it for several years, so he's going to do a real good job for us.
We'll see exactly how Kurt Fisher does in the Wild Hair as the Jefferson City, Missouri driver in the green truck closest to you faces off against Arizonan Pablo Cruz and Tough Enough.
Well, the big truck comes out of the southwest, trying to see if he can go head-to-head with some of these guys from the East Coast. It's an awfully strong running truck. It's a new truck. That's Pablo Cruz furthest away. Meanwhile, like you said, Fisher, an ex-mud racer, a national champion in the mud racing sport, not able to get the handle on this monster truck racing. Look at Pablo Cruz. God, I'm impressed with this guy. He laid down a good shot out of that left lane.
Outstanding run for Pablo Cruz and Tough Enough out of Phoenix, Arizona. Army's going to go over and talk with Pablo Cruz about that run.
Well, Pablo, he just flat blew his doors off. That's what monster truck racing's all about, isn't it?
That's what I'm here to do.
The truck looked extremely strong at mid-range.
Thank you. Yeah, we worked on the engine a little bit out in the pit, and we got a little bit late start, but we're doing pretty good now.
Next, we have ourselves a family reunion of sorts, although there probably won't be any brotherly love out there. This is going to be a war because they're both trying to get the win. It's Randy Spanier and Barely Tame against brother Doug Spanier and Master of Disaster.
God, this is going to be more like a family feud, and I'll tell you why. Doug Spanier owns both of these trucks. He'll be driving the Master Disaster, which is the most powerful of the two, the truck closest to the camera. His younger brother, Randy, driving down on horsepower, but he seems to be having a handle at half track. Randy's staying right with him. Now he starts to make a move on him. Out of the left lane, that has got to be a major upset. 100%, Scott. Randy Spaniard's going into the next round.
If we're learning anything quickly, we are learning that this is a track for handling, for chassis setup, as opposed to raw power. And that was the story right there. Barely tame, able to hold the track. He comes away with the victory and knocks off his brother Doug in the Master of Disaster. So we'll be seeing more of Randy Spaniard. Army's with him right now.
Randy Spaniard, so much for sibling rivalry. You just blew your brother in the bushes out there.
Yeah, I think he had a little bit of trouble staying on the car. It seems like most of the people tonight had trouble staying on the cars. And I had no trouble. It just went straight, and I just gave her all I got, and, well, I just beat him.
You're going to be back in the next round? Are you going to make any changes or anything, or leave everything just like it is?
The motor seemed to have been sputtering to me a little bit, so we're going to bring her back there and look at it quick and get her all set up for the next race.
Good luck to you next round.
Thanks.
When we return from this commercial break, it's modified tractor pulling in Owensboro, Kentucky on the TNT All-American Pulling Series. Don't go away.
Here's a guy who may be able to join the pull-off. We're looking at a great tractor right there, the mean mistreater of Fred Freeman.
He's based out of Wadesville, Indiana, relies on the Chevrolet for horsepower. Now, he is a past national champion on the Busch Pro National Circuit. Freeman has a handle on the track. The question is, does he have the horsepower? Right hand on the throttle. You saw him. He rolled it right in. Oh, he missed the weight, Scott. That's going to cost him. The front end comes up 300 feet. That's what he's shooting for. The weight's starting to come back on the sled. I don't think he's going to make it. He's close, but I don't believe he's there, Scott.
Oh, here it is. He's just short. Look at it. A little over 2 feet short of a full pull. So Fred Freeman and mean mistreater will finish well, but will not go to the pull-off. All right, the Virginia Farmer will be out next. John Carlton. John hails from Little Plymouth, Virginia, and the Virginia Farmer knows he needs a full pull to take it into the pull-off.
There's another interesting story here. That being the Virginia Farmer runs basically the same engine setup that Freeman ran. He watched Freeman's run, and I'll guarantee you he's going to make some driver changes from what he saw Fred do. Fred was 2 feet short. This guy did not come all the way from Virginia to Kentucky to finish out of the money. Pressure's on him. The full pull can be made. It's a horsepower track in Davis County. Ground speed is the trick, keeping the front wheels on the ground. Let's see if Carlton can do it.
Looks like he's getting out of the hole. Excellent. Now he gets the hammer down on it. Excellent ground speed. The Virginia Farmer going to try and take her out of here.
He does it, Scott. He's going. Oh, what a run.
And like the other full pulls, he did it with some despair. John Carlton and the Virginia Farmer will join Mike Piper, John Heilman, and Dave Walsh in the pull-off. Here's Army with John Carlton.
John, you're the fourth to make a full pull tonight. It's turning into an awfully tough class to win, isn't it?
Yeah, track a little bit on the soft side, but we got it, eh?
Will you make any adjustments when you come back in a pull-off?
Yeah, well, I lost the engine that time. My left engine, I think, got blew the head gasket on it. I'm going to run it. I don't know how we're going to do, but I'm going to run it.
When we return, our next stop, Music City, USA. It's more monster truck racing from Nashville, Tennessee, featuring a race between Gravedigger and Equalizer. Don't go away.
Television's most powerful hour is back at you. Tuff Trax with the TNT Monster Truck Challenge at the Nashville Motor Raceway in Nashville, Tennessee. Music City, USA. And we've gone through one round of competition, ready to move to the quarterfinals. Chris Chapman's going to look at the bracket.
And here's what our pairings look like going into the quarterfinal rounds. We have Mad Dog facing No Problem, which was a big upset over the Gravedigger. And then we have the second fast loser, Master of Disaster, facing King Crunch. And then we have Gravedigger coming back. You'll see him again, and he'll face the Equalizer. And then we have Tough Enough facing Barely Tame.
All right, Chris, that's the way they'll match up as we go to the round of 8, the quarterfinals. And our first matchup is Mad Dog against No Problem. When the brackets were drawn, Army, you had to figure this was going to be USA 1 against Gravedigger. But for different reasons, they're both out. And here are the two trucks that are ready to go.
One thing I'm watching out for is how John Moore is going to drive the right lane. Everybody's saying they're having problems with it. Let's see if he can go straight over. Hometown boy, look at this, trying to do good in front of the family. All right, John Moore laying down the law in Music Music City's going to advance in the next round. And he made a good, smooth run, Scott.
He sure did, Army. What a great day it's been thus far for John Moore and the No Problem Ford Bronco. In front of the hometown fans, first, he knocks off Gravedigger. Then he's able to put Mad Dog away to move into the semifinal round. Army's going to go over and talk to an elated John Moore, who's having a big time in his hometown.
Hold it up, Army.
John Moore, to put it frankly, Mad Dog kind of looked like a whipped pup out there on that run. You hammered him.
Yeah, I don't know where he went. I think the track is getting better. I really think it's getting better.
All you guys with a short wheelbase are going to say that. Everybody on the other side with the long wheelbase is crying the blues tonight, but you're moving right on along. This is what it's all about.
Yeah, I think it is. It looks long, but I think it's a real short course, and I think if we can keep it straight, we ought to be all right.
King Crunch against that truck there, the master of disaster. It'll be Doug Spanier out of Albany, Minnesota, coming back because he was the second fastest loser. There's Scott Stevens in King Crunch.
You know, I'm kind of surprised Steven comes out with lane choice and goes into the right lane. He must have seen something from Moore. You're talking horsepower here. Both of these trucks are way up on horsepower. This is going to be a driver race, right? Side by side to lead the line. Let's see what's going to happen now. Stevens starting to flex his muscle on the Texas Chevrolet. Now he really lays it out. Look at Scott Stevens. That high-tech Chevrolet looks like he's found the right combination tonight.
Scott Stevens and King Crunch advancing into the semifinal round where he'll meet No Problem. Army's got Scott right now.
Scott Stevens out of Woodland, Texas, kind of going against the flow tonight. Everybody said it's a bad track. A big horsepower truck won't do it. I don't know any trucks out here that make more horsepower. You're just driving a real good race out there.
Yeah, Army, what we've been doing, all year long, we showed you the computer up in Richmond. Hey, I did the qualifying pass. I knew what we did to qualifying. We knew to step it up each pass. As long as the truck's got momentum, it goes straight. Looked at it then, I was a little off pace, probably a little slower than the pass before, but I'll just step it up next pass, and the truck goes, as long as I've got momentum, I can go straight.
What about you and Crash now? When you go back to pit area, you read the odometer readout, it tells you what to do, you make the changes and just go right back in the lane, then you just concentrate on one thing, driving the truck.
Right, hopefully tonight, we didn't qualify real good, and we're in the bad lane, so that's probably where we're going to get stuck all night. And the computers, we've got the truck shifting real quick now, that way, because you don't want no power, I don't think, on this track. I want it to get into high gear, that way when I give it the gas, it don't have no sudden power. And, it's just so many things are helping, and the odometer computer is really helping, too, this weekend.
You've got to love this next matchup in the quarterfinals. The equalizer, David Morris, the hometown guy, against the Gravedigger, the very popular truck from Chesapeake, Virginia. Digger comes back as the fast loser.
You got to remember one thing. 1 year ago tonight, David Morris had never driven a monster truck. He was sitting in a grandstand at this event. Now he's a national point leader. And another thing, you are not going to see a straight run here. Both these guys are going to have their hands full, and all they're trying to do is get lined up for the final jump. The Gravedigger went over first, but I believe we might have grounds for disqualification. I don't know if he hit the car square or not, Scott.
Army's going to get over there and talk to Dennis Anderson right now. You can see the tire cut down on the Gravedigger. Let's take a look at the run. Here comes Digger to the second set of cars, and look right there. He does not get both wheels up. He is not going to make it. It's a disqualification on the Gravedigger. Let's go over to Army and Dennis right now.
Well, Dennis Anderson rolls to the starting line with the awesome red light. That makes the competitors watch out. There's only one thing that'll hammer you in this sport. That's what I'm holding in my hand right now. It's a drive shaft loop. Indication you lost the front drive shaft, plus the rear tire blew out on the run, Dennis. Can you make it back?
Yeah, we can make it back, but I think I lost that round anyway because I didn't hit that hit the middle pile of cars true, and I guess I was out. Still trying to be easy coming off the line. It just didn't work for me.
You heard it from Dennis Anderson. He tried to be easy, but it wasn't good enough. So Everett Jasmer, as we talked about earlier, the owner of USA 1, he's still unhappy about the ruling we had earlier. It's also cost Dennis Anderson, but indeed, you have got to be careful early on this track, obviously, Army. If you come out too much horsepower too early, you're going to miss getting those two wheels on that first car.
Well, what amazes me is Anderson admits that he missed the second set of cars, but he still pulled the trigger and went after that last set as hard as he could go. That's where the blowout came from.
Absolutely. All right, our next matchup here in the quarterfinal round will send Tough Enough up against Barely Tame. Pablo Cruz out of Arizona and Tough Enough. Randy Spanier, Barely Tame out of Albany, Minnesota. Tough Enough is closest to us as they get ready to go side by side.
Horsepower closer to the camera. Let's see what's going to work. Barely Tame is trying to motor on through. This Arizona truck's impressed me, but I don't know. They were coming back on the far lane, Scott.
It is Tough Enough holding on for the victory, Army, and it's a big win for Tough Enough. He'll go to the semifinals.
I'll tell you what, these rounds of competition are really taking their toll, and the high-performance engine heat is playing a major factor. It's the month of August down south. He's going to be back, but I tell you, they got a lot of work to get that big Ford engine cooled down to go to the next round, Scott.
So Tough Enough is going on, and we'll see him back in action when we get to the Final Four at Nashville. But after this quick break, it's the pull-off from Owensboro, Kentucky on the TNT All-American Pulling Series here on Tuff Trax. Ready for more raw power here on Tuff Trax as Mike Piper's Just Add Dirt gets us started in the pull-off. The TNT All-American Pulling Series at the Davis County Lions Club Fairgrounds in Owensboro, Kentucky. Mike Piper was our first puller, our test puller. He took it out of here, and now he'll start the pull-off, Army.
Well, we told you earlier about his wife had the book on the track. He's got the horsepower. She's got the book. They've made some combination. I'm watching what he's doing. His first run came off the right side of the track. As he goes back for the pull-off, his wife, Barb, watching patiently on the starting line. He's moved the sled towards the middle of the track. As she turned it to the right page for the second time, we're going to find out in just a minute, Scott. Now it's up to him.
John Heilman and Levi Garrett, Dave Walsh from the Irish Challenger, John Carlton and the Virginia Farmer also had full pulls. However, Virginia Farmer had an engine that he couldn't get running again. He won't pull. There are three of them. Here's the first. It is Mike Piper. Just Add Dirt. It looks pretty good, but he's not going to get it out again.
Four engines at $40,000 a pop. Let's see what's going to happen now. He will set the distance. He is the leader in the pull-off. Now, they got to set and dodge a whole bunch of big bullets that are coming right in behind them with that 254 shot.
Barb likes it, though. She enjoyed it. She thinks that's a good one. Apparently, Barb says the 254 is going to hold up.
Mike Piper, the horsepower is there. Everything looks super good for you. It looked to me like you gave it your best shot. Is that going to be good enough?
From what the tractor felt like to me, it's going to take somebody with more power, tire speed. My bite was there. My balance was just a little bit heavy. It's going to be a tough run for somebody to get down past me, I think. More power to them.
Well, we'll see if anybody's got that more power. Barb now is, you know, she's looked at the book, and Mike's done everything, she's done everything, but now, Army, is the real tension time because there's nothing more they can do. They've got to see how John Heilman and Dave Walsh handle this track.
Yeah, they've already laid their cards on the table. Now, what are these other guys holding? And believe me, whatever they're holding them close to their chest right now. Heilman comes out, relying on the Chevrolet for horsepower. The Arias engine, the high-dollar engine, is your current leader to 254. Can the Chevrolets catch him? He's working to the left side of the track. I don't believe he's going to be there.
Not up to the 250 mark, so John Heilman and the Levi Garrett out of Rockford, Ohio will finish either second or third, but he won't win it. The distance is 239.73. There's one more to go. Remember, the Virginia Farmer will not be back. He's broke. He'll end up fourth in the competition. Here's the last one who could knock Mike Piper off the top spot at Davis County's Lions Club Fairgrounds. Dave Walsh and the Irish Challenger.
Walsh is going to roll to the line. Same exact engine combination. They rely on the Arias for horsepower. This guy runs a real tall gear in it, and believe me, he can be Mike Piper's worst nightmare. Piper knows he's just got to hold this guy off one time, and it's going to be tough to do because look where Walsh comes out. All the way to the left side. He's over in a new track, so to speak. Right hand on the throttle. He wastes no time. He goes immediately for the throat. Look at this. The throttle's wide open. The ground speed there. Walsh is laying down a beautiful shot. Scott, I believe we got our winner.
Oh, he's blowing him out. He's going to go over 270 feet. The distance for Dave Walsh in the Irish Challenger, 271.89. And Dave Walsh wins it near Owensboro, Kentucky at the Davis County Lions Club Fairgrounds. Irish Challenger, your winner. Just Add Dirt finishes second. Levi Garrett third. Then Virginia Farmer, who broke before the pull-off. Brett Freeman's Me Mistreater rounds out the top five at Owensboro.
David Walsh, you and your brother come all the way down to Owensboro, Kentucky, and you really laid your cards on the table tonight. He did good in the two-wheel drive category. You're winning the modified tractors. It's looking awfully good for you for this National Championships point series, isn't it?
Well, it looks real good right now, but we're only halfway through, and we got 5-6 pulls left, and anything can change then.
You're going to be a player. Engler's going to be a player. Banner's having some bad luck. He's going to turn around. Heilman, this modified tractor class is definitely just like a crapshoot. When you guys go in, who lays down that best shot's going to be the man to beat on that particular night. Any of you guys can win it, can't you?
That's right. Anybody can win, but I'm going to give my best shot to try and win. I think I can do it.
Your Here's a new look at the point standing. With that win, the Irish challenger now tied for first with Mission Impossible. Third is Just Add Dirt. Tied in fourth position, it's Mean Mistreater and the Cracklin' Rose. Going into the sixth spot, Levi Garrett coming in at 990. Virginia Farmer in seventh. Dollar Devil in eighth. Sudden Thunder with 790 in the ninth position. Rounding it out, it's Sassy Massey in 10th. But when we return, the Monster Truck semifinals from Nashville, Tennessee. Don't miss it.
The TNT Monster Truck Challenge at the Nashville Motor Raceway is down to a final four. Here's Chris Chapman to look at the matchups.
Well, here's what the pairings look like in the semifinal round. We have hometown boy No Problem, who's facing the most high-tech truck here tonight, King Crunch. And then in the next pairing, we have another hometown boy, Equalizer, who I might mention is second in the national point standing. And he's facing someone who's a long way from home, Tough Enough, who's based out of Phoenix, Arizona.
Good matchups, Chris, as we're going to enjoy now two outstanding races to determine who'll make it to tonight's Monster Mash. And there's a guy who'd love to, Army. John Moore, Lafayette, Tennessee, No Problem. The Ford Bronco in front of the hometowners, but he's got to take on King Crunch. Here comes Scott Stevens.
If he does it, it'll be a Cinderella story, and Scott Stevens not taking any chances. He's working that right lane to perfection. Look at this, that new high-tech Chevrolet again. They keep going to the computer, and they keep going faster, Scott.
Boy, this has been a night for being smart, and the computer right now is getting it done for Scott Stevens and King Crunch on to the finals.
Well, Scott Stevens out of Woodland, Texas. It's been a long time coming. It's been a long road, but, son, you're there.
I tell you, Army, it's been forever, and this truck's just so great, you know. Like I said before, the computer and the Goodyear tires, the competition cams, the wax shop. Hey, this truck's working. We're ready to go this year.
Now one of Nashville's favorites has been dispatched, that being John Moore, eliminated by King Crunch and Scott Stevens. The other hometown guy will take on a fella, as Chris Chapman noted a moment ago, from a long way away. Phoenix, Arizona's Pablo Cruz is Tough Enough against David Morris and the Equalizer from Springfield, Tennessee.
Well, Morris is established. He's got his truck working good for him. The engine combination, everything's fine. Pablo Cruz, the other hand, a new truck combination. That may cost him as Morris is going to rely. Oh, look at Cruz trying to work the outside. Morris is coming back on him, Scott. I can't tell.
Wow, what a race between David Morris and Equalizer, Pablo Cruz and Tough Enough, and by a fraction, the win's going to go to David Morris and the Equalizer. Barely nosing them out, but one of the Tennessee guys is in the finals, and it'll be David Morris.
You're going to hear an interesting story right now. 1 year ago tonight, this man had never seen a monster truck race. He and his fiance bought a ticket and were sitting in that grandstand up there. He said, someday I'm going to own a monster truck. Well, he doesn't own one, but he drives one. He's currently number 2 in the national points chase. If there was ever a Cinderella story in this sport, son, it's got to be you. What's going through your mind right now?
Well, really, what's going through my mind right now is getting my tire aired back up. I knocked the air out of my rear tire when I landed on the pavement, so I got to get the tire patched up, and hopefully I can come back in the finals and do good.
Well, you guys, that puts King Crunch against Equalizer in the Monster Mash for the silver flag. It's a showdown of the Super Chevys. We'll be back with the finals and the Dynamite Lady when we return.
Ken, I need to...
Look out, it's the Mudbox Jamboree 89, the largest outdoor pro mudbox show in Utah, brought to you by Out of Control Productions, with a special featuring of Monster Trucks versus Battle Track. This power pack of mudbog action runs 2 nights only at the Utah State Fairgrounds. Friday the 29th and Saturday the 30th. Gates open at 6, the show starts at 7. Tickets are $10 at the gate or get advanced tickets for $8 at 6 locations. Don't miss the Mudbox Jamboree 89.
Not only did the folks at the Nashville Motor Raceway enjoy dynamite action with the TNT Monster Trucks, they also enjoyed the Dynamite Lady. Allison Bly blows herself up, as it were. Well, exploding that box, Army.
She's a tremendous stunt lady. Does a great job right now. We're waiting to see if she's going to... Okay, she's all right. She's good. I'll tell you that right now. You know, she used to be a model, Scott. She's very attractive, very petite young lady. I cannot imagine why she would do this for a living.
And she's a tough customer, I'll tell you. You can see it right there. The box exploded, but Allison's okay, and the Dynamite Lady has them roaring their approval in Nashville, Tennessee at the Nashville Motor Raceway. So the Dynamite Lady successfully completing her very dangerous stunt, and now it's time to get to the Monster Mash, the finale. King Crunch, Scott Stevens, got all the way up into competition out of Texas, Woodlands, Texas, and he's going up against the hometown favorite, David Morrison, the equalizer from Springfield, Tennessee.
Well, there's no question who these 14,000 plus fans are going to be pulling for. They're going to be pulling for Morris, but believe me, Scott Stevens and King Crunch is going after this win. Like I say, he didn't come all the way from Texas just to finish second. A two-team final, Texas versus Tennessee. They're both Chevrolets in the Texas Chevrolet. Look at Stevens. He just keeps getting quicker and quicker and quicker. That's his first win of the year, Scott.
Last week, Army told us that he thought if there was a guy going to shake these points up, it could be King Crunch. All right, after the competition, King Crunch wins it. Equalizer back on top in the points. Carolina Crusher USA 1, the Gravedigger, and Nightlife holding on those spots in the top 5. Awesome Kong 6th. Mad Dog inches up 7th. No Problem now 8th with a good run in Nashville. Stomper 9th, and Wild Hair now rounds out the top 10 on the TNT Monster Truck Challenge for the 1989 season. But it's Scott Stevens and King Crunch, a late starter. He's not on the top 10, but as Army warned us, here's a guy who's going to have a lot to say about who does win the national championship, because he has come to play, he's come to win, and he did it this week in Nashville. We'll see if he can do it again when we come back to Nashville for more great monster truck racing here on Tuff Trax.